Okay, beta. Now you can start.
Okay.
Present.
Respected Sandeep sir and all the dear attendees, good morning to all of you. My name is Oshin and I'm a student of BSc Non-Medical final year, Dayal Singh College, Karnal. Today's topic of my presentation is bioinorganic.
So, ओशन बेटा सॉरी टू डिस्टर्ब यू, क्या आप इसको लैंडस्केप मोड में नहीं कर सकते प्रेजेंटेशन को स्लाइड करके?
नहीं सर, और कोई ऑप्शन ही नहीं है यहाँ पर, ऐसे ही हो रहा है सर. एक बार मैं नहीं सर, नो सर, नहीं हो रहा है.
चलो you can proceed बेटा.
So today's topic of my presentation is bioinorganic chemistry. Now, before starting the topic, let us have an insight into the word bioinorganic. The word bioinorganic is composed of two words, bio plus inorganic. The term bio means living and inorganic means not organic. Therefore, the branch of chemistry that compiles living and non-organic chemistries is simply called bioinorganic chemistry. Now let us study some standard definition of bioinorganic chemistry as you all can see on your respective screens. So bioinorganic chemistry is a branch of the science which brings inorganic chemistry into life processes by recognizing the fundamental importance of life dependence on metal ions. Therefore, in a nutshell, the function of inorganic metal ions in the living world is all that we study under the branch of bioinorganic chemistry. Now, before we move on, let us have some information regarding how the field of bioinorganic chemistry exactly blossomed. Here on the screen, you can see an image of a scientist named as Paul Ehrlich, who laid the foundation stone of the field of bioinorganic chemistry by using organoarsenic or arsenicals for the treatment of syphilis. Here, organoarsenic is simply, organoarsenic compounds are simply the organic compound containing arsenic, and the term syphilis means some sort of bacterial infections. Next on this slide, we are having the image of Robert J.P. Williams, who is internationally recognized as the father of bioinorganic chemistry for his pioneering studies on the roles of metal ions in biological systems. Now, let me tell you about the contents of our today's presentation. We will, in the first section, discuss about the classification of elements on the basis of their relative importance in the life processes. In the next section, we will discuss about the classification of essential elements. And in the last section, we will study about some of the essential elements. And we will also discuss about their importance, the diseases caused by them, and also about treatment and the foods that are rich in some particular essential elements. So now let us proceed. So we shall discuss now the first section, that is the classification of elements on the basis of their relative importance. So elements are classified as essential and non-essential elements. So essential elements are those elements, absence of these essential elements might result in death or severe malfunction of the body of the organism. Therefore, they are considered as essential. And the example of essential elements are oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, phosphorus, etc. And you can see on the right-hand side of your screen the definition of non-essential elements. So non-essential elements are those elements whose absence in our bodies do not lead to any kind of metabolic disruption or any kind of problems in our bodies. So next we will move towards the classification of essential elements. So essential elements are classified into two classes. The first class is the bulk elements and the second class is the trace elements. So bulk elements are the elements which are found in higher concentrations in our living world. For example, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, etc. Whereas trace elements are the elements which are needed in very low concentration for the life processes, and they are found in very low amounts in the living world. For example, sodium, copper, cobalt, lead, zinc, etc. Now let us proceed towards our last section, where we will discuss about two bulk essential elements, sodium and calcium. So let us start with sodium first. Here I have mentioned some functions of sodium and the life processes. So the first one is sodium as the major cation of extracellular fluids in animals. Number two, it is important in nerve functioning in animals. Number three, sodium is the major component of vertebrate blood. Number four, so NaCl, which is containing sodium, help in osmotic regulation of the body and tissue fluids. And at last, we are having sodium ions also serve as essential activating ions for specific enzymatic activity. Here, I'm feeling the need to explain you the term osmotic regulation. The term osmotic regulation that you are able to view in point number 5 is also named as osmoregulation. And it is basically the process of maintenance of salt and water balance across the membrane within the fluid of the body. Once again, I'll repeat it for you. Osmoregulation is the process of maintenance of salt and water, that is osmotic balance across the membranes within the fluid of the body. That is it. Now, uh, we will discuss about effects of imbalanced levels of sodium on animals and plants. And first of all, we are going to start with animals. In case of animals, you can see the first term I have mentioned here in the first point, hyponectraemia. The term hyponectraemia is composed of two different words, hypo and netremia. Hypo here means less than required and netremia means sodium. Therefore, hyponetremia is simply a clinical term less which means if an animal suffers from low concentration of sodium in the blood, then we call it as hyponetremia. The symptoms of hyponetremia in animals are dehydration, their kidney failures, heart failure, and it also affects the lungs and our brain. And its treatment is oral rehydration therapy and intake of saline solution. The intake of saline solution increases the amount of sodium in our blood, and oral rehydration here means a type of fluid replacement to prevent and treat dehydration. It involves drinking of some special mixture of water and glucose, and it is sometimes done by using a nasogastric tube. Next we are having is hypernatremia. Hypernatremia is also composed of two terms. Hyper means greater than required and natremia means sodium. So if the sodium is present in our body greater than the requirement, then we will suffer from the clinical condition named as hypernatremia. The symptoms of hypernatremia are excessive thirst, lack of energy in the body, fatigue, diabetes, etc. And its treatment is drinking more water, fluid replacement, and oral rehydration. Next, we will discuss about some foods which are rich in sodium. The foods that I have mentioned on the screen are not only helping us in treating with hypernatremia, but they also help us with hyponatremia. So that means these foods are responsible for making the balance of sodium in our blood. And the example of such foods are yogurt, spinach, bananas, potatoes, etc. Next, we will discuss about the role of sodium in plants' health. So sodium is not essential elements in plants' health, but still, in small quantities, it can aid the metabolism and the synthesis of chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a green-colored pigment which is found in the plants that helps the plants in photosynthesis. That means making their food. But excess of sodium might also harm the plants. Excess of sodium might lead to sodium toxicity in the bodies of the plants, and it produces an effect which is named as osmotion. Osmotion is a process in which the important water in the plant bodies is diverted. It is not, it do not reach its proper location, and due to which you can see the image that plant gets somewhat like rough leaves. That is it. Next, we will move on towards our second bulk element, that is calcium. Calcium is present as carbonates and phosphates in our skeletal structures. It is essential for blood clotting. It stabilizes our blood pressure, and it also contributes to the normal functions and plays an important role in the neurotransmission release and muscles contraction. So these were the function of calcium in our animals' bodies. Next, we will discuss about imbalanced level of calcium on animals, its effects. So first we are having is hypocalcemia. Again, it means the same like hypernectremia. Hypocalcemia means if we are having less than required calcium in our body, then we will suffer from a condition named as hypocalcemia. The symptoms of hypocalcemia are confusion and memory losses, muscle cramps, weak and brittle nails. And the last one is osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is a condition when our bones become porous and they become more prone to fractures. Now, we will discuss about the foods which are rich in calcium. Cheese, milk, green vegetables, and yogurt are considered to be very rich in calcium. Now, the condition hypocalcemia in most of the cases is caused due to the deficiency of vitamin D in the animal's bodies. Because vitamin D is considered to be responsible for retention of calcium in our bodies, therefore, if we take foods which are rich in vitamin D, may also help us in retaining the proper levels of calcium in our body. And the food rich in vitamin D are eggs, fatty fishes, etc. Next, we will discuss about hypocalcemia. Hypocalcemia is same like hypernatremia. Hypernatremia that we did earlier meant excess levels of sodium in the body. So in the similar way, hypocalcemia means excess levels of calciums in the body. And excess calcium can even make our bones weak. It might lead to the calcification of various organs. Calcification means our different organ gets filled with the calcium mineral. Like the most common example that we are having is kidney stones. So kidney stone in most of the cases is due to the greater level of calcium in our body. And calcium, the greater level of calcium also interfere with the functioning of our heart and brain. The last is the treatment. A person suffering from hypocalcemia must avoid totally the dairy products because dairy product contains a lot of calcium. Now you can see on your screens the foods which are rich in calcium. You can have a look, and the foods that are presented here are cheese, yogurt, milk, eggs, beans, and that is it. At last, we will discuss about calcium's effect on the plant's health. So calcium. First of all, we will discuss about calcium deficiency in plants. Calcium deficiency in plants might lead to the death of the growing plants, and it might also lead to the premature shielding of the blossoms and buds of the plants. And the treatment of the calcium deficiency is very simple. It can be treated by adding a high quality calcium and magnesium foliar. It might help. Now you might be wondering what is the meaning of word foliar. A foliar means a kind of fertilizer that is directly sprayed on the leaves of the plants. At last, we will discuss about the effect of imbalanced levels of calcium on the plant's health. So excess of the calcium might also be dangerous for the growth of the plants. High level of calcium can compete with magnesium and potassium uptakes and causes their deficiency in plants. So it causes calcium toxicity in the plants if we are having excess calcium in our soil, and excess of calcium in the bodies of the plant might it might compete with the uptake of minerals like calcium and magnesium, which might also make the plant weak. It causes the stunted growth in plant. Its main cause, the only cause of excess of calcium in the plant body is it causes stunted growth, means slow growth of the plant. And its treatment is again by flushing the soil and stop at feeding for 1 to 2 weeks, means stop adding the fertilizers which contains a greater amount of calcium in it. So at last, in nutshell, I just want to say that the branch of bioinorganic chemistry is having a vast scope. It has helped us in a lot in the field of medicine by providing us with most effective drugs against cancer, which are named as cisplatin and burotitane, and many more are there. The matter lines not only play a vital role in animals, but it also play a very, very important role in good health of plants. As we all know that in our India, 60% of people are involved in primary activities, that is agricultural related activities. So we can take great help of the roles of matter lines for our good plant health and for the better yield of the crop. Therefore, on this day of World Environment Day, if we, the youth of India, take an initiative to combine our scientific knowledge with our old cultural knowledge, we can take our nation towards the greatest heights. Okay, now at the end, I just want you all the wonderful thank to you all the wonderful audience for listening to me such patiently, and I also want to thank our most respected Dr. Sandeep sir with all the zeal and heart for providing us with such a wonderful platform through which we can hone our presenting as well as soft skills. Thank you all.